All right, you guys, we're gonna fire it up. I'm gonna shut up and let you guys listen.
You know, these myths come in that our competitors often like to say, oh, it's going to chunk up. Yes, it will, and two, that doesn't matter.
Love it.
Everybody get up.
Alright, you guys, we got a really full show for you today because we are going to be testing this ASV in hyper deep snow. We're talking about 7, 8, 9, 10 feet deep snow. And we're also going to be hooking up with the guys from ASV. These were the people that originally created tracks, but not just any tracks to go in extreme conditions. And we're going to be testing just how extreme that we can push these tracks to the limit in this machine today. But we're also going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to be talking about what kind of tracks you need for the kinds of conditions you're in. We're also going to be dispelling a few common myths out there about tracks. You see, there's a lot of salespeople out there that are telling you the wrong thing. And so today, we're gonna get rid of all of the misinformation. Well, hopefully we are. And we're gonna actually have a lot of fun. And, well, what are we doing? Let's just start doing it. Woo! This is the 74 horsepower RT75. What we're gonna be actually doing is talking about and showing and demonstrating this thing in deep snow in this video. So we got some mounds of snow ready for this thing. But you guys were the ones that originally invented tracks for snow, right?
Yeah, yep. So just the posi track system in general has always been great in the snow. We come out of northern Minnesota, Grand Rapids, Minnesota. We actually started with the Trax truck, which was a snowmobile trail groomer. And now the posi track system you see today is different than that, but it still has its roots in snow. And so all the ASV machines come standard with 4-season tracks.
So now, Buck, the ASV, last time we got together, and we really want to talk and demonstrate and show these guys that tracks can be meant for snow, deep snow, but not every track, right? ASV and Takeuchi, you guys were the two original manufacturers of tracks on skid steers, right?
Correct. Yep.
Right about the same time frame.
Yep. So yeah, in 91 we released the first US built track loader for certain, and you know what year exactly they started building or when exactly I can't speak to, but you know, they imported in the US about that same exact time we started building here in the US. So
right.
Evolution there, right? So Takeuchi probably came in with very little snow history or snow experience, whereas ASV came in with a vast history of snow experience, right? So our founders, Edgar Hattin, actually founded Polaris Arctic Cat, was partnered with a guy by the name of Gary Lemke, who was an Arctic Cat dealer. So two well-known Minnesota snowmobile companies these guys worked with prior to ASV. So a lot of history in snow and a lot of experience there, right? So they took that experience with track systems and snow and actually built a dirt machine. So I mean, it's definitely a dirt machine today, but man, very capable on snow because of that history and that knowledge. And obviously we're based in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, so we get to move a lot of snow around in a year. So
actually talk about the differences, not in only the tread pattern, but I want to be very clear in actual the tracks themselves, because now, am I right or wrong, or is there an MTL and a CTL? Is that the two? Am I wrong or right? I don't know, and I know that's kind of like the industry common thing, but I don't know if it's an accurate thing.
Sure. So MTL, that stands for multi-terrain loader. That's actually a CAT branded term. That's the term that CAT uses for the undercarriage that's similar to ASV on those machines.
Yep.
Compact track loaders actually kind of span the entire variety of those types of machines. So technically an MTL is a compact track loader as well. What ASV has going on is the posi track system, okay. Which I think Bob can speak to.
The things that ASV does different than everybody else, and you know, not just Takeuchi or CAT, but the things we do different than everyone, you know, key features that help it perform well in snow. You know, you can start with ground clearance, right? Yeah. 15 inches of ground clearance on this thing. That's your friend when you're out in deep snow, like you will be, you know, with this machine.
Yeah, it's got insane, amazing ground clearance. Yeah. I mean, we were actually driving over actual logs and not hitting them. I mean, you and I were, when we were out doing a forestry mulching video. I mean, I'm just looking underneath it going, he's just straddling right over the top of that. So we were able to float over a lot of places. So ground clearance is an important thing. Does this have better ground clearance than a typical machine? Right, wrong, or in between?
Industry leading for certain, yeah.
Okay. So it technically has 15 inches of ground clearance, which is the most for any tracked skid loader on the market right now. Now that ground clearance does a number of things. It allows you to clear obstacles very well. That's one of the most important benefits to having high ground clearance. Remember, Tim, when we brought another machine out, we were talking about how it was belly dragging?
The whole time.
The whole time.
Muddy soils, and you were, yep, scraping the belly the whole time.
Yeah.
So I've never seen one of these up close, so this is nice. A lot of ground clearance on it.
Yeah, so that's an important thing. So if you guys are in the market and you're looking, hey, what should we be looking for when we're buying a track loader? If you do snow work, we're gonna get to that, because we want to actually show you the tread pattern that you need. It's not kinda, sorta, or you can get by with. Right now, I've got a Bobcat T180 parked at my house. Hey, Tim, what do you think of that T180 out here?
Sometimes pull it out of the shop, and if you slide down the little ramp, park it, because it's gonna be worthless.
So, all right, you guys, instead of talking about the differences in the tracks, I have a machine that's set up with dirt tracks, and I don't use it for snow plowing because it's pretty much just useless. I keep it as an emergency backup and to one of my other backup machines. In fact, here she is right there. If you can tell, if you can't tell, she hasn't seen much action this winter. Thankfully, I haven't had as many breakdowns as, well, I don't want. I just haven't had many breakdowns. All right, so let's take a look. Let's unbury the tracks on this thing and then take a look at what the actual dirt tracks look like. And you guys will be able to tell a big difference. This may take a minute. All right, you guys, now this is a Bobcat T180. Tracks designs have changed. You're gonna get different track patterns, but this is a dirt pattern, and as soon as you get it out into these conditions, she pretty much can't move. There's a number of factors that create for the optimal track situation. One of them is ground clearance. Another one is tread pattern in the tracks themselves. A third one that we need to cover right now is weight distribution. Getting those tracks so that they take an equal amount of weight from the rear to the front is very important. In fact, when you look at a lot of the other competitors where their tracks are and their weight is, they're typically very rear heavy. A lot of the mass of the machine is over the backs of those tracks, and when you do that, you're going to have sinking conditions. I witnessed this firsthand in Florida when we were working in sugar sand, where a competitor's machine, literally the back of it sunk and we had to dig it out. So weight distribution is a huge factor to allow you to flow.
You'll see it in snow too, you know, so that weight distribution is going to help you on the snow and the ice, right? Have weight everywhere. So when you engage your bucket, right, you drop it down on the concrete, you start scraping concrete. On a lot of machines with rear weight bias, you engage that bucket and the front of the track wants to come off the ground and you're just driving on the rear wheel. So all you have is that little rear wheel providing traction. In the ASV design, you've got an even weight balance, and then you've also got a suspended undercarriage. This becomes your friend because as you engage that bucket in the front, this suspension actually suspends not only up to give you a smooth ride, but also down to give you traction. So you engage the bucket, this drops down, we got a nice even weight balance on the track system, and that's what's really going to help you move some snow. So
okay, did anybody understand that?
Not a clue.
Kevin, you got it?
Yeah.
Tim, did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't get it.
We've been up for a while.
Can you say that? All right, so wait a minute. In all of our defense, Buck, we've been up since well, pretty much all day and night because we've been snow plowing, so we're a little loopy. I'm gonna say that.
I've been studying this for 24 years. You've had like 2.4 seconds of I just gave you the condensed
So can you
version,
say
right?
that in English?
The suspension, because you're pushing up on the body. In some designs, you'd be lifting the track right off the ground. In the ASV design, the suspension allows that track to drop in.
And the reason that's important, you guys, is the more track you have in contact with the ground, the better the traction you'll have, and the more you're distributing the weight of the machine over the tracks to give you the least pounds per square foot on the ground. By keeping the weight distribution over the largest possible surface area, this will give you better traction and flotation. So really what you're saying is as the bucket goes down, the front is it called an idler? Is that the proper terminology?
Sure, this would be an idler wheel, bogey, you know, common names, but
so
those are bogies.
That would typically go up, but this one will actually angle down to keep full traction on the ground.
Yep. This is a suspended axle. So this axle actually can move up and down. So if you hit a bump here, this wheel can be driven up, suspension, right?
Oh, cool.
If you raise, say you engage the bucket and you raise this part of the platform, the suspension can drop down. So it just helps you keep contact with the ground in all conditions.
All right. From an operator standpoint, that little bogey wheel that floats in the front makes a world of difference for operator comfort. I've owned a number of different track skid loaders, and anytime that you are running a track skid loader, it's a lot like driving in a tank. Every bump you hit translates right into the operator's back. If you haven't been there, well, trust me, it does. It kind of sucks running a tracked machine. With this machine, actually the ride is almost as comparably smooth as it is to a tired unit. But you get a world better traction. Let's talk about the tread pattern on the tracks as well. I really want to make sure that we get that clear down because this is it.
Yeah, so you know, we've kind of talked about the machine a lot, the suspension, but as you get to the track itself and where you engage the ice, you know, just like with cars, right? You got snow tires, you got street tires, etc. What we do at ASV is we're really providing a track that is an all-purpose, all-terrain track. This is the same track we run in the dirt, is the same one we run in the snow. And we're able to do that because it's a very unique design, right? Not having steel bars inside of the track. We actually have a composite cord in there that provides the structure of this track and allows it to flex around the frame. And then we're also, because of that weight distribution, all those other things I'm talking about, able to run a fairly non-aggressive tread pattern. We don't have to have big blocks and big tread pattern to get good traction in dirt. We can actually get it through the amount of surface contact. And surface contact on ice, that's your friend, right? The more this contacts the ice, the more traction I'm flat out gonna get.
Right.
So what you'll see from ASV is one tread pattern, all-purpose track. What you'll see from most competitors is they're gonna have a standard track and then they're gonna have a snow track. And their snow track patterns actually typically look a lot like our standard basic track.
So you got a very wide open carriage right here. Is this good or bad? Because I want to talk about maintenance expense, because there's people talking about that this is a higher maintenance, a higher expense track system. Tell me what you guys, how you guys talk about that.
Sure. So let me, I'll start with snow, right? I mean, one of the biggest evolutions we think happens in the 20th century is the single rail undercarriage, right? So again, a unique ASV design. We refer to this as our single rail design, and we do that because you do just really have one frame rail running down the center, right? And then all of the idler wheels are suspended from that single rail and out here in the open. And most designs you're going to be familiar with, that's going to be a closed tub, we refer to it as, right? And that enclosure, really what that does, it's enclosing the wheels. And we had those designs 10 years ago. We got away from that because the single rail gave us huge advantages in wheel life and undercarriage cleanliness. So what it does in the snow is, as snow is getting in here and trying to pack on everything, if you had an enclosed rail, the snow packs underneath it, packs on top of it. Unfortunately, if you park it outside overnight, you might get up in the morning and the sprockets will be iced up, that kind of thing. By getting to an open design, you can see that the material is then able to actually fall out and self-clean. So this design is really focuses around self-cleaning and trying to let as much of that material fall out as we can.
Now, is that applicable for dirt as well as snow and ice, Buck?
It is, absolutely, because one of the great things that, you know, it's going to help you with snow and ice, but it also helps you with rock and trees and sticks and logs. As those things fall in, what we found in our closed tub designs is to fall in the closed tub, the wheel will carry it around, trap it in there, right? And as soon as the wheel traps it in there, that object can do damage to that wheel. But if that object can fall in there and pass through and fall back out, now it's not doing any damage, and it's not dependent on you to go out and clean it. So we saw wheel life improve exponentially by getting to this open design. So, you know, it is something that when you get in rock and debris and sticks and logs, you are going to see wheels that a rock comes by and chunks or chips the edge of this. The key to that is don't panic. That is normal wear and tear. It is something that is visual, not necessarily functional. So where these myths come in that our competitors often like to say, oh, it's going to chunk up. I will encourage you to know that yes, it will, and two, that doesn't matter. We actually
love it.
We will allow this wheel to wear. Our typical recommendation would be allow the rubber on the outside of that wheel to wear at least 70% away before considering a replacement. So just like you're going to let the tread wear off of your tires, right? You're going to wear at least 70% of that tread before you would consider replacement. Same can hold true of this wheel. Furthermore, in certain conditions, you know, snow, sands, etc., there's going to be no wear, right? In rock, you're going to see those chunks and chips. Secondly, if you ran it to 70%, you consider a replacement. I mean, let's go a step further. Let's say we let 100% of that rubber wear off there. It's all gone. Now what do we have? We actually still have a functional wheel.
You still have your steel idler wheel.
You're going to have an idler wheel contact the track. On a steel wheel, how much rubber's on it, right? None. So if we wore all of it off, it'd be equivalent to what
they're already running.
Steel wheel is already running.
Okay, so wear and tear, wouldn't that be worse for the tracks then to have steel on rubber? Wouldn't that wear the tracks down faster?
Precisely. So the object of this rubber right here is only to provide a cushion between the wheel and the track. So what this rubber does is improves track life, and you know, we strongly believe we have the longest track life in the industry. 2-year, 1,500 hour standard warranty you're going to get with this guy. So in 1,500 hour warranty, our average owners are seeing 2,000-ish hours in average.
And we're going to stop right there, because some of you guys may go, oh, I'm not seeing that, but you may not be running an OEM actual manufacturer's track. You may be running an aftermarket track, and if you do run an aftermarket track, and if it's not made to the same standards that these guys make, don't expect to get the same results. So I want to stop some of these arguments right there saying we don't see the results that Buck is talking about. Make sure that you're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. You can buy cheaper tracks, but you're not going to get as long a life out of them, just plain and simple. What would you say, guys that are typically running the CTL, the steel tracks, with the undercarriage, what kind of track life do they normally see?
Well, in direct head-to-head comparison tests, right? Same guys, same environment, we're seeing about half of that. So I'm talking averages, and I'm talking, you know, head-to-head same place.
Okay, and there's going to be different materials you're in. Sand is going to be more abrasive than soft soils, and your black dirt, or your peaty mosses, or your clays. They're always going to function. You guys are going to be all over the world. You're going to have different life expectancies because of the types of materials you're running in. But if we're typically doubling the track life, are these more expensive to replace? Why are guys thinking this is more expensive? Do you know?
Yeah, so I honestly, a lot of that expense conversation focuses around these wheels and people seeing a chunk or a chip and not understanding the function of the purpose of that wheel, right? Okay. So you run in and replace this wheel, every time you see a scratch or a chunk in it, it's going to get very expensive.
Okay.
But if you understand its purpose in life and just how ugly that guy can really be before any replacement is required.
So that is really some of the major differences guys should look for. Is there anything else that we should cover with tracks so that these guys can go out and when they're looking at tracks, they know what they're getting into and know what to be looking for on their machines?
Right. The other big difference between the ASV design and others is the sprocket. So we run what we call internal positive drive. An internal positive drive has got this roller, which I'm turning with my hand, that engages a lug here and rolls as it engages that lug, right?
Okay.
Where that differs from most designs, dozers, other compact track loaders, that they will have a through sprocket design typically, right? It pokes through the center of the track. The advantage of this roller design is it's a very low friction design. So the through sprockets, you know, they come from dozers that historically go 4 or 5 miles an hour, and that through sprocket, as it comes through, it wants to hook that track. There's a lot of friction going on there. Clunk, 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 clunk.
Yeah.
And you hear that, you see that same thing in compact track loaders. This design is a lot lower friction. It rolls as it engages, and that keeps the friction down. That also allows us to have industry-leading ground speeds on these track loaders, which is going to be your friend in snowplow atmospheres.
So what are you talking about for ground speed?
So this machine is 9.3 mile an hour machine.
Okay.
Fastest in class.
Let me ask you something now. As we're looking at these internal, what do you call this thing, Buck?
Internal positive drive.
Okay, as this thing is spinning, isn't this now a wear component too that needs to be replaced?
Yep, so you've still got a wear part there. It is the roller itself. We've got an internal pin and an external roller, which will wear.
Okay.
And typically what we'll say is 50% wear life. So if you're looking at those as time goes on, it's going to be a 1/4 inch thick roller that when it's half of that, we would typically recommend replacement. Okay. The big advantage in the wear piece is that you can replace just the roller, right? Instead of, in most designs, it would be a complete cast sprocket.
Yeah, well,
so
I was going to say,
cost for cost, it's a pretty inexpensive replacement.
Yeah, okay, so if you guys, what we're actually talking about, Tim, you want to grab this real quick? On most CTLs or most loaders, you'll have a giant sprocket, and those things are freaking expensive. I know because I've replaced more than one of them. And they're not fun to replace. They're a pain in the butt. Where this looks like a guy with an impact wrench could probably replace this in his garage. Fairly simple.
Anybody can do that, you know.
Right? I mean, am I right or wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, it's nuts and bolts. So.
Okay, so it's something that a guy can do if he's handy with a set of tools. And he doesn't want to spend a ton of money, he can do on his own. That's kind of what I'm reading into this track design.
The other thing that's interesting is if you look at the sprocket itself, and the total width of the sprocket is roughly 12 inches in width.
Yeah.
Most of your through sprocket designs we're talking about are approximately 2 inches wide, correct? So if you think about the contact area on a 12-inch versus a 2-inch sprocket, then transfer that into wear time, right? So we distribute the load into the steel at a much lighter rate because of the width, so we tend to get longer sprocket life as well. So not only do you have a lower cost replacement component, but the lifetime can actually be greater due to the amount of surface area we got there.
All right, so let's show you exactly what Buck is talking about right here. This is your drive sprocket, and here's your teeth. And so these teeth come up and make contact with the track on one spot. Literally, it's that wide. So the teeth engage right into these holes. So instead of distributing that weight over a larger surface area, but it's actually becoming a pinch point. Hopefully, won't have to pull this machine out yet this year. Even when I do, probably wouldn't be as efficient as Frankie with a shovel. I need to talk to you about the tracks themselves though, because one of the things that I've heard is that these tracks don't, you said it has the corded steel, what would it go, we're gonna go backwards, what was that?
So this is a polycord that we use in this track. There is no steel. So in most, you know, other designs, they would actually use a steel cable in here to maintain the track tension.
Yeah.
What we use is a polycord. Now that cord is actually a lot of times you hear guys talk about Kevlar. That's not actually what it is. It's better than Kevlar. We've actually surpassed that now in designs. But the cord itself is the advantage over steel is that it's actually able to stretch and contract.
Yes.
So as objects go through, a common demonstration we'll do is actually feed something through here. You'll see that track will actually be able to stretch around that object, and then when it returns, come back.
Okay, and one of the things that I gotta stop you guys, you're gonna go, well, that polycord can't be nearly as durable as steel, but remember, we're talking about the whole ultimate design gives you twice the track life as what the competitors are actually seeing on their units. So to answer your question, is it as tough? Well, if it's giving you twice the track life, then isn't the answer, yeah, it's tough? I mean, am I right or wrong? What do you guys think? You guys are awfully quiet. You guys are just crickets, just crickets.
1 hour sleep. I
1
always heard
hour
you want to watch
sleep.
out for like sandy sites with bigger rocks, and you get a rock in these, and just the myths of that, and then
Sure.
higher maintenance is the only two things, you know, that I really.
That's why it's down here, right? We want you to.
We're gonna be using.
You're gonna run it. You're gonna see, right?
Is there a difference between
you'll have an opportunity to learn, and you know what I come back to with the cord, the advantage there, the ability to stretch and contract isn't something steel can do. So in the same advent, if this was a steel cord and we fed an object through here, something's got to give, right?
Yeah.
So with the complete design designed to flex and interact together and be able to absorb that object and retract, that's where the strength comes from. You couldn't just, you know, oh, we're just going to put a cord there, or we're going to put steel here. It has to be a ground up design to function together. And with that aspect, you know, we're very confident in the single rail advancements, the polycord advancements, that they really do address those things that you're talking about.
But I hope this video has helped you out, because these guys are the experts in tracks, the leaders in track technology as ASV, because, well, that's what they do. They're ahead of the curve. They've already updated their track design from 10 years ago. The other guys are still playing a game of catch up. That's my experience, what I've seen, I've done, I've used them. And I want to hear from you guys. What are your guys' thoughts? Put it in the comments down below if you guys have ran these, because a lot of guys are going to be looking at what you guys think in the comments down below. So check them out now. All right, you guys, if this doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. Holy crap, this is so much fun.